Yes, we are live. And
Awesome.
yay! And I'm actually super happy to have Elli from Turquoise Squirrel with us. Not
Hello.
only is she a wonderful and amazing superstar in her field, doing designer cakes, but she is just
Yes.
also a very cool person.
And she's
Are you
German.
And she's German. So you have like three bonus points with us already.
the
And
German
plus
points for
she
me
has
always.
maybe the fourth one is you have an amazing hair color that I think sets you apart from everyone in the world.
Yeah.
Wow. I gotta represent the turquoise squirrel, right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
exactly.
So
So
thank you
nice
so
to
much
see
for
you today.
joining us on this Saturday afternoon.
Thank you so much.
I think in South Africa, specifically in the Johannesburg wedding market, maybe the one or the other has somehow came across what you're doing in terms of cake designs. But
Yes.
we're glad we have also people from around the world actually joining us and listening in. So if you can maybe just explain what is it that you're doing and also how your passion for cakes came about.
Yes. Well, thanks. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's so nice. I was so excited when you asked me. This is wonderful, especially with the awesome people that you've had on already, and you still
Thank
will
you.
have on. I feel very honored right now. Um, yeah, and
Welcome.
I'm from the Turquoise Squirrel Patisserie, and I kind of started. So my business is all about wedding cakes, and really very much the out there, tall, crazy, highly decorated wedding cakes that are really just like a center feature at the wedding. So that's really my speciality when it comes to cakes, and particularly sugar flowers. I love doing sugar flowers. And how I got to be in this business is really just actually by accident. It's so funny. I always used to do biscuits for Christmas in July because, as you guys also know, when it gets cold here, it's
Yeah.
June,
Yes,
July, then my soul
right.
wants glühwein. And
Yes,
when Christmas time comes around, I'm like, no, I can't handle it. Like, it's not Christmas in my heart because I need snow, I
Yeah.
need cold. So
yes.
I started baking biscuits for those times, when it was Christmas in July. And then people ask me
Mhm.
if they can buy the biscuits. And then I'm like, cool, sure, why not? And then somebody asked me to make cupcakes and then macarons. And then a good friend of mine asked me to make her son's birthday cake. And then I never looked back. So it really, I
Okay,
fell
amazing.
into it more by accident than anything else. I mean, I studied fine arts, and I would have never like thought that this is where I'm going to end up, with a wedding cake business. It's just
But
crazy.
honestly saying, the pieces of cake you do, these are fine arts.
Yeah,
Actually, these are standing completely apart from what is existing in the rest of the cake industry.
yeah,
And because you put so much love and detail in, and you put lights in cakes, and I don't
yeah,
know what else. And we have done together a wedding where you made actually I don't know how 2 meter high cake with fresh flowers in,
yes.
and very specific detailed things. So the piece of art, like, I think one can see in your, like, in
Designs,
your
yes.
designs, and this
Yeah,
makes it so special.
And I mean,
yeah,
you have shown also something to us that you are doing, like how you incorporate also real art, like painting. Like, I mean, I think this is a nice combination what you're doing. Like you
yeah.
combine your actually trained background with the passion that you have, means cake baking, or I don't know how you say this, like cake baking or patisserie. Like what is it that you're doing
Decorating,
actually?
baking. Some people say caking, which is like a
Caking.
mixture of
Okay,
cake
cool.
baking, like caking biscuits.
Okay,
Okay.
so how you
Yeah,
do your caking.
yeah,
And I think this is also something that sets you apart from just anyone who's looking for just a regular wedding cake in the
yeah.
market, right?
They're definitely like I try to make them like my slogan is almost like extraordinary cakes. Like if it's not something like, wow, what is going on? Is that cake? Then I'm not happy. Then I haven't done my job.
But also, I think we as Germans, we have a very particular idea of taste,
Yes.
which is quite different from what South African cake taste mostly is. I'm not
Yeah.
judging this, but I just want to say it's different. And
Yeah.
maybe tell us also a little bit of that, because when we as company, as wedding company, event company, recommend you, a lot of people are quite surprised about, like, it's not only
The
chocolate
flavors,
and
for
I
example,
don't know
that you offer.
much. So it's
It's
so
not just a
much
red
more.
velvet or
Yeah.
a regular, I don't know, vanilla or chocolate,
Yeah.
because I mean, the history of European bakers and maybe also the patisserie,
Yeah.
like reaches, I mean, centuries back, you know. So there's a long history of
Yes.
that. So I think the bread, I mean, starts from the bread culture in specifically Germany.
Absolutely. There's so much bread.
Yes.
Yeah, we
To
starving for bread.
also, yes, to also cakes, but also, for example, I mean, here, what I personally feel, there's sugar is used, and like we are
Very
like more
sweet.
used to flavors, you know, like different really like flavors, and maybe to use more mascarpone or whatever. I don't want to give away any secrets here, but like it's just a complete different
You as a chef?
yeah, I mean, like I will never be your competition, so you don't have to worry about it.
Anytime we can bake together, I don't mind.
Well, I think once you're in my kitchen, you will not repeat that again. But I think just like, do you also feel like, I mean, in Africa generally, or in South Africa, which you're servicing right now, and I think also maybe you have ideas of expanding your business to other parts of the world, but what is it that you feel when people come to us, what they request with regards to taste? And is it something that you considerably think, whoa, that would not have happened in Europe maybe, or that's a different scenario here?
Well, I do think that there is a specific kind of like idea when people come to me with an idea of cake. So generally here, then they mean, you know, like a sponge cake or a butter cake or something the like, you know. Whereas in Europe, I think that's, you know, then you distinguish between torte or, you know, like just kuchen, which is like just made like flat, you know. So it's like you get a completely different idea of what people are asking for. But I do feel a lot of people ask for stuff that's not sweet. So not too sweet. So I think generally cakes are really, really sweet here.
Yes.
And I think in Germany, what I grew up with is also a lot of sweet stuff, but like you said, with a lot of flavor. There's like cinnamon in something, or there is a bit of a custard, or then there is fresh fruit. You know, there's a tartness, like a rhubarb. Rhabarberstreusel. Is that anything?
Oh, Sally. Don't talk further, like, ooh.
Right? I mean, a rhubarb streuselkuchen, there is like it's tart, and it's almost a little bit bitter, and it tastes fresh. And then that together with cake, with that with also it's about different textures. So I think that's what I really love incorporating in my cakes, and that's probably where my kind of idea of a good cake differs from others. I want different textures in my cake. You know, let's go back to the rhubarb streusel cake, right? It's soft and smooshy in the inside, and then the streusel, they're like almost dry and brittle, and they're like melt in your mouth. So you've got these two completely different textures. So it's not only about the flavor, it's about the textures in it as well. So for me, like I love including something like a lemon curd, because again, it's a soft melt in your mouth texture with like a, you know, a cake, you know, that's like spongy, and you have to chew it a little bit, and you know, so those kind of things. And then a really soft Swiss meringue buttercream. Oh no, I'm getting hungry.
Okay.
I just want to say, please stop. I mean, that
We
is
can't stop because that's the part of your business. But
I haven't
like,
baked
do you?
for so long that I miss it now. But so it's really just, for me, it's yes, it's about flavor, and also just exploring different flavors. And I cannot stand sweet cake. Like, oh, you guys are gone. Where are you gone? Hello. Oh, look, my hair is all weird. Are you still
We lost
there?
you now, Elli?
Hello. We're back.
Guys, can you see Elli back here? I think maybe we've lost her right
for a
now.
moment.
I'm here. I just didn't see you for a moment.
Try this. My goodness, just now when
because we should stop
talking about too much
talking
food,
about
right?
cake.
Yeah, the line actually burst.
Just see if I can get her back in.
Okay. Am I back?
Coming. Yes,
yeah,
you're back.
yeah, you are
Yes,
back. You are
you're
back. I
Yes.
said that was too much for the line.
Too
Talking
much
about
food.
Too much cake
Too much
for the
sweet
internet. We
things.
just broke the internet.
You broke the internet with your cakes.
Yes. But I
But
think that's the bottom line. For me, it's about exploring different flavors and kind of cutting through the sweetness. Like, for example, with fresh gin or with a lemon curd and then also playing with different textures, because then that's something that people don't expect. And it almost shows people that cake can be better than just what you get Pick and Pay. You know what I mean?
yes, definitely.
Cake can really
or
be
any
something.
other grocery store.
Yes.
Exactly.
No, I mean, yes. And I think, everything that is homemade, that has obviously a completely different taste.
Yeah.
So you can never compare like a really homemade cake or any other food than what you usually buy in the stores, where it's not also
Absolutely.
made with love. And
Yeah.
specifically for wedding, this is this is important.
Yes.
Um,
For me as well, it was always about I know this sounds stupid, but I don't like baking. I know that's ridiculous, but I really don't like it.
really?
For me, I love cooking. I love cooking because it's creative. Whereas with baking, yes, it's got a certain amount of creativity, but it's these ingredients plus time plus heat equals cake. And then where I can be creative is with the flavors and the textures, and then obviously the decorating. But the baking still goes into it. Otherwise, you don't have a cake at the end of the day.
Yes,
so,
you don't have a base.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
me,
it's like your canvas. I think at the end of the day, it's like when you compare it to art, sort of,
exactly.
the cake is your canvas, and then you just
You
need to
frame
have that frame. Yes, and then you can just start your creativity and then your creative job.
Absolutely. You need to prepare.
Can I just sorry, just one thing, because you say you actually don't like it. So, like, in your free time, do you actually eat cake? Like, do you make cake for yourself, for your husband? No, not at all, really.
Ever. And the worst is, I think I've ordered a piece of cake in the shop like once in my life. That's it. Like, other than like market research now for my business, like before I started the bakery, I think I've ordered a piece of cake like once. Like, as a kid in Germany, yes, I used to eat a lot of cake, especially when my grandma made it, made it at home or whatever. I ate a lot of cake there. But here and in England, I don't think I've ever really ordered a piece of cake at a restaurant.
That's odd. Like, that's somehow quite cool.
But Alfie asked you actually a question, and we drifted a bit away from that by all the flavors and stuff like this. That once you introduced us for a client as a suggestion that cake like combined with a piece of art at the wall. So tell us a little bit more about that, because this is really, we thought is really unique.
Yes. So that's something that I came up with a couple of months back. So first, we kind of started talking about the possibility of having an actual cake hanging on the wall as a piece of art, because you can make a cake that looks like a canvas, or I can. So, that's how we started talking about it. And then I think from that, so you literally, in that one, you cut into the painting, which is like, wow, which is so cool. But then from that, oftentimes what happens at a wedding, that is, especially with weddings that don't go through planners, people neglect to think about where the cake needs to be displayed. So oftentimes, yes, it's in the center stage, but then for the photographer in the background, there's the band, or there's an aircon, or, then there's something in the background that ruins, or it's stuffed in a corner.
The picture, that ruins the picture.
Yeah, it distracts also from the beauty and the time. And also, it's an investment for a couple, at the end of the day, it is also something, it's a piece that should make your wedding more beautiful. And I can say it as a planner, I always try to locate the cake really also in a special area, but most of the time also my heart cringes when I see like the cake somehow just standing in the corner somewhere and very sad. Yes, and it's, I mean, someone has really put a lot of time and effort also in the class. I mean, again, someone like the couple has paid for it, so it should also
Absolutely.
shine, and it should also reflect and be part of the
Mm.
entire design
Absolutely.
of the wedding, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I think it's a brilliant idea. So to have a real canvas and to have like in front of it your cake, and I think the beauty of it is that you can keep the canvas, like the real painting,
Exactly.
as a
That was the whole
keepsake,
idea
as
behind
a
it.
memory. And that's just an amazing idea. I think
Yeah,
that's
and the
just
canvas,
brilliant.
just to explain, the canvas is actually with the same design that
So
you have
if you
on the
want,
cake, right?
I can quickly explain that if you'd like. So what my thinking was to create a painting for the background of the cake, so that it's almost like a backdrop. So
Mhm.
that whatever is behind the backdrop, it doesn't matter. The cake, and
Yes.
then they both get kind of like designed in conjunction. So then the cake is inspired by the painting, and the painting is inspired by the
Yes.
cake. And then,
Mhm.
I've always thought, when you have a wedding, what do you get to take home other than the memories and some amazing photos and maybe like the
Yeah.
gifts for the guests? So
Mhm.
so for me, the painting then is something that reflects the couple, and then that's something that they can hang in their house, and that's something that will remind them of their big day on a daily basis, which I think,
I think
Exactly.
it's brilliant.
This is
is
such a
something that they
beautiful
get to
idea.
take home.
Yeah, yeah. I think you should promote this just more, like, because people might not understand the concept, but we have
Yes,
seen this, and that's why we know, and we know what to expect. And I think a lot of couples
Would appreciate
would
that.
be
Yeah.
appreciative about this
yes.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're reminding me of that. I'm kind of like, I've got so many things, so many fingers in a different pie, like that I'm just constantly forgetting about all the things that I was busy with. And then, okay, cool, done. Now let's move on to the next thing. Start promoting that one
Ellie, what
again.
are you like when you say you're also carried away now? I mean, we are all sort of, I mean, specifically you for weddings, you just said you mainly focus on wedding cakes. And I mean, we don't know when the next wedding is going to take place,
No.
literally. So what is it that you are keeping busy with? How you're also trying to keep your business afloat and support your own, I mean, family, your home, just what you do. So what is
Yes.
it that you're currently trying to do?
Yeah, so I've started really going into online classes. So to use the knowledge that I've got and that I've gained over the years as a designer, to
Mm-hmm.
kind of use that for online classes, because at the moment I don't see any other way for me to actually keep afloat. For me personally, especially because the venue that I work at, they'll be closed until the 31st of July. So
Mm-hmm.
for the next 3 months, I won't be able to bake. So for other
Mm-hmm.
people, that might look different as the different levels come into play. They might be able to
yeah,
bake birthday cakes or Mother's Day cakes or whatever it is they want to be doing. But for me, that's actually not an option. So I really
Mm-hmm.
needed to think of like, what are the things that I get to do in the space that I've got here with the knowledge that I have,
Right.
and that really
Mm-hmm.
turned into just online classes, because a lot of people always ask me, oh, do you do online classes, do you do hands-on classes? And I
yeah.
really just took this as a push to
Mm-hmm.
actually get going with this.
Okay.
That's
So
interesting and
people maybe,
wonderful.
if
Yeah.
people are interested, I mean, I can just say, and I'm sure I will never learn it, but I admire your sugar flowers. I think this is also one of the main features of like what really also made you maybe like
So
famous
famous. Yeah.
in the South African market.
Yes.
But if people are interested to learn more, like do you like, could I learn it? I mean, would you like is the online course open to everyone, or is it just for already established businesses like cake makers? Like who can join?
Look, I mean, I think for a beginner it would be difficult, but I do explain all the steps from the very beginning, so
Mm-hmm.
literally step by step, and lots of different techniques of how to do it and different options. So if you don't have this one tool, maybe you can use something else. Or how do you make a
Okay.
plan for,
Mm-hmm.
because we're all locked down now, so we can't get our
Yes.
hands on whatever we want. How can you make use of other things? What are other options you know, to make those things. And so I really try to go through all the materials, what are they called, looking at the anatomy of the flowers, and then how do you make that in sugar. So, you know, a beginner who's never done sugar flowers before can absolutely give it a go. They just need to know that obviously a little bit difficult, you know, you just need a little bit extra patience, that's all, but you can definitely do it.
Okay, wonderful. I was just amazed when we've been on a wedding and you just took away some of our real flowers, and in the evening you just, like, while we were talking, you just aside you did like I don't know, like a needlework or something. It was unbelievable. Like, and in a couple of minutes you had your sugar flowers ready, and I was like, what, you did it while we were talking, you know. It looks so easy. And just like when I look in your back, a lot of people might actually think you have a real orchid in behind you, but this is your sugar flowers, right? This is unbelievable. And tell me, when I saw this, I was wondering, the pot, actually the vase, did you also made it?
Yes, so that's also the vase is also made from sugar. So it's a whole wait, let me just
art piece.
Wow.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
So and you also explained it in a little way, like this pieces, put the pieces together. This is like a Chinese or Japanese art.
Yes. So there's a whole, like, I think that's where my artistic background came in, because, you know, you can't just paint something that you think is pretty. You have to have a good reason, and you have to have almost like a symbolism behind it, and you need to be able to explain why you did what you did, right? So there's going to be somebody who's going to be like taking it apart afterwards, like, why did you put that there, and why did you do that? So for this one, wait, I can't do this. There we go.
Yes, you can see, yeah.
It's a kintsugi design. So that's the Japanese technique where if you drop a beautiful bowl and you're trying to glue it back together, you don't glue it back together with glue and trying to make the glue disappear so it looks like it did before. You use the glue with gold. So it almost highlights the breaks, and it makes it beautiful and more interesting, and it tells a story that this thing has been through something, yet it's still beautiful afterwards, or even maybe more beautiful. It's got maybe more character, you know.
So people out there, throw your bowls away. There's no better time than now that you have time to put the pieces
back together.
So I think, so I came, oh, there we go. Sit. So I think, you know, I kind of started thinking about the design way before the whole COVID thing came to pass. But I think, you know, this is absolutely just as poignant as it can be. This is what it's all about at the moment. How do we pick ourselves up with the pieces that, you know, this whole pandemic has smashed us into? How do we pick those pieces up and put them together in a way that's maybe stronger and better than it was before? And I mean, that's a challenge, you know, like it's not easy to put that bowl back together and puzzle it back together, but it's still like it's an amazing process, you know. So I think for me,
and that's maybe also one of the reasons why we talk to all of you, because there is a lot out there of us. They have like yesterday Dennis said it, our musician from the US. He had a time to mourn at the beginning. You know, we all had our days and times out there where we didn't know like how this is going further and what we're going to do. But then there's people like you and others. They get creative, they get new ideas. But there's also other people, they're still in this mourning process, you know. And we want also them to take with us, to encourage them, maybe do something completely like either different or like in their range of business, but also like what they like, you know, but to get inspirations. And I think I had this morning a chat with one of our florist clients, and once we actually finished, she said, you know what, while we were talking, I got new ideas what I can do. And I think this is so beautiful that just by chatting to each other, we can inspire each other. It's not a direct influence that we take, it's actually an indirect way to let people move on and get ideas. And I think also like what you are doing, and also the teaching now, and that actually everybody can do it, and not just like people in a specific industry. I would say that will help also a lot of normal people out of our industry to maybe find a inner peace back, you know, and find something
that they enjoy doing. Because I mean, I think, to be quite honest, this pandemic has made more chefs and more bakers, even if it's just on the home base, than at any other stage the last 2 centuries, because we just have so much time, you know. I mean, you know more than ever, baking and cooking takes time. This is like one of the reasons why I don't like it personally, but it's just or why I would pay for someone to do it. But and it's just something that usually in a busy lifetime, no one really takes the time for it. And right now, I think, the first thing that was out of stock was sugar and flour and whatever when you went into the supermarkets. Now obviously they have restocked, but just because people were much more into home cooking and entertaining their families and all of that. So I think, there's a saying which I think also puts a lot of pressure on people, but usually they say, okay, if like take the time in this pandemic to learn a new skill. I don't really agree with it, because a lot of people deal also with this pandemic in different ways. But I think it's worthwhile, if you are into cooking or if you are into baking, just to try out new things which are along the way, like to take a course, for example, if that's something that you would like to do. So that's great. Just tell people, sorry, just before you said it, just tell people who are maybe interested in your courses, where can they find more information about it?
So you can go on my Instagram pages or Facebook pages or on my website. So if you just type in Turquoise Squirrel, just make sure you spell turquoise and squirrel right.
Yeah, that is, I you know what? I wanted to ask you where you got you got this ridiculous name, because anytime I type it in, I type it wrong.
But it's an IQ test, Mom.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye.
So, the story behind it is really that I love turquoise. I love it. It's like my favorite color. And not only that, it happens to be that it's actually my birthstone. I don't believe in that all airy fairy birthstones and crystals and stuff, but it happens to be my birthstone, turquoise. It's called turquoise in German. It's a turquoise stone. So I don't know what it is in English. I have no idea. But anywho, so I love turquoise. But for me, it's about the color of the ocean. So, when you look into the waves and the deep dark, the dark turquoise, that's my turquoise. Because it's mysterious, and it's not a green, it's not a blue, it's perfectly in the middle. And, so it's not straightforward. And that's what I love about it. And often people fight about it. They're like, oh, look, this is turquoise. I'm like, nope, that's aqua, or no, that's a baby blue, or no, so
that's blue.
It's a bit of a controversial color. And the squirrel is really so I grew up in a very small village close to the Czech Republic in Germany, and it's got a massive forest on the top of the hill. So I used to I was a freaking forest child, like Mowgli.
That actually is similar to us,
Yes, right. So you know what I mean when I say there's a forest at your doorstep, So
when I tell people sometimes when I was a child, we lived in a little village in the middle of forest, about 20 houses only. And when I say I was playing with squirrels and snakes, they look at me like, what? We're snakes? Yeah, but they don't know that we only have one poisonous snake. Every other snake is not poisonous.
Exactly. So, I always used to go into the forest, and I wanted an animal to that represents my German heritage, and something that also looks cute when eating
Yes.
like a cookie or something, you know, and
Yes,
so the
yes.
squirrel, turquoise squirrel, and yeah, and then I thought about it, is it too difficult to type? So, and I thought, you know what, if people want to find me, they'll find a way to type it right.
Yes.
But it is too difficult to type.
Yeah, not too difficult,
No,
but it is.
but
I think it's very. I mean, it's very unique.
yeah,
It has like an edge where you're like, what in the beginning, like turquoise squirrel, but it's something that you remember,
yeah.
which I think
People do
is
remember
really
it, even,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Plus,
Plus, your hair color always like matches, and then you get like the connection always back. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I gotta represent.
exactly. I also like when we both got to know each other. I still remember that night in Cape Town when you
Yes.
approached me and you said, I'm Ellie and I doing this and that, and my mom actually like contacted you, like your mom contacted you
Yes.
to reach out to me, like that was also something very like special, and
How
because
weird.
yeah, how weird is this, and but also how small is this world, you know,
Absolutely.
and you come, and I wanted to come to that point. You grew up not so far where I grew up in the area, and sometimes this is actually in Saxonia, and when we talk to each other, we grab back our dialect, you know.
Yes.
It's quite funny, a funny dialect. But the town that you grew up is very famous, actually, even though that's a little town.
Yes.
Is there also something like with your sugar flowers? Tell us a little bit. Is there somehow a connection to the town that you
So,
grow up, and what this
yeah.
town is doing?
So they actually make Seidenblumen, which is flowers made from silk. So it's silk flowers, and that was the thing that the town is very, very famous for. And they've got the biggest silk flower in the world, which is a massive orange and yellow rose in the town. And so I think, you know, in a sense, maybe my love for flowers and where my sugar flower passion really comes from is probably from there. You know, so flowers are a big deal in our little town. So we would always have a flower festival where,
Yes.
you know, there's always a flower girl who gets crowned the flower girl, and she's like pretty much the queen of freaking the town, you know.
Yes.
So she's got a flower
And
hat and a blue dress, and it's so old school and so beautiful. But that's really what the little town
it's
is very
heritage.
famous
yes,
for.
It's a big part of culture. I mean, generally,
Yes,
when you look into almost any European countries, flowers have a huge cultural
aspect.
aspect. I mean, you have flower shops almost like in every street, sometimes
absolutely.
even two or three, you know.
Yes,
Whereas here, this is also something, I mean, that from now a flower side, maybe that we were really missing when we got here, this culture of
Yeah.
flower shops and people who are trading flowers and just like making bunches and bouquets and things like this. Everything is very event based here in South Africa. So there is a
absolutely.
huge difference
Yes,
for that.
And I really wish that they like there is somehow coming up like little flower shops like mushrooms, because this is
yes,
a possibility for florists to gain an income, to make an income and a living like instantly, and not waiting for the next wedding maybe that comes up only next year, you know.
yeah.
And can I ask you a question, a very selfish question? You just said you don't like baking, but have you ever thought about maybe the last couple of days to go into business of baking German bread?
I have not.
Okay, can you consider this? I'm my first client.
Fair enough. You know, I always used to say, yes, I'm a patisserie, but do not ask me to make you croissants. I will slap you.
No, I'm asking you something more simple. Bread.
Bread, fine. It's, yeah, I mean, but again, like for me, that would mean like venturing into a completely new business and setting up a new bakery pretty much for it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me
But this
personally,
is like
but I would love that.
yeah, but for Germans and for a lot of people, even in South Africa, I think that German bread is something very specific and unique, and they like it. And we have a farmers market here in the Garden Route. Like every weekend there is a German baker.
Oh,
You
wow.
cannot believe how long this queue is on a
Really?
Saturday. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it's not only Germans. I mean, there's a lot of South Africans. They buy this bread and they are mad about this bread. And when you are too late,
bread is the best. There's no doubt about it.
yeah, exactly. So maybe plan B.
Plan B, absolutely. If the sugar flour like classes don't work out, I'll make you German bread.
Perfect. That's perfect.
But I mean, to be quite honest, and I mean, I'm happy actually that you're in a good state of mind. But I just believe also that a lot of companies out there, and there are a lot of like one women show or one man shows who just need to see whether they need to venture out from what they actually have been doing for the past many years, you know, and if they can find something that is close to maybe what they're doing, but still like brings them over the couple of next like months, like you said, for the next 3 to 4 to 5 months. And even if you maybe can start in July, I mean, you might not even have a wedding directly in July because you know, there's gonna be really a time also when people like really feel
we have to bridge over things,
feel like that they can be safe performing events. So that is quite a big concern. And for me, because we're speaking about Germany and your German heritage, I think, and the same is for us. I mean, we have family abroad, and this whole situation has been very difficult for us. Like, how do you feel personally, also with your family being so far away, maybe with not being able to travel, you really cannot travel? Like, how did that also impact you on a personal level?
Yes. So I think I was quite lucky because my mom literally, she left on the last flight out from South Africa back to Germany. She was here the 2 weeks before. When she landed, like COVID was starting to go rampant. Literally the day after she landed in South Africa, they declared like the state of emergency in Germany. And then like 3 days later, they declared the state of emergency here. So she was in the midst of it. She was traveling here. So I got to see her just before all this really, the proper lockdown happened. And so like I just got to see her, which I'm very thankful for.
Lucky
because I know now, you know, who would have known when I would have seen her again otherwise.
Yes.
So yeah, no, they had to get like COVID tests and it was madness. It was crazy. Yeah. But
I mean, also, personally, it's I think the uncertainty, and I think not only like on the private like base or level, but also like, of course, like also in the business sense, this uncertainty makes everything just much more difficult. Because if you would know, for example, I mean, by 1st of July, everything will be fine. At least you can plan, you know. But right now,
open-ended. Like, who knows when we're gonna go back to having weddings or whatever. So I think, so what happened to me personally was obviously with my mom, I mean, that was stressful. So the week after, she literally left like the night before the lockdown came out or something like that. I can't even remember. I think it's all blurred because my brain doesn't want to handle it. So, and it was just absolute madness. Like the week thereafter, when all the lockdown happened, I was like absolutely and utterly depressed because I'm just thinking, okay, cool. So 5 weeks, what the heck am I going to be doing? Like, there's weddings being moved, there's weddings being cancelled, brides are upset, brides are sad. I always get emotionally involved with, you know, like that's, I think, what's different about me than other bakeries or maybe other events. And it's the same for you as well. You want to have a relationship with your clients, right? You get to know them so you can produce your best. And for me, that means when they are in like suffering and they are having to postpone their event that they've dreamt about and saved up for years, like I get heart sore with them. And you know, so
personally, it's hard because you cannot help them. You know, you can't even tell them. You know, I mean, we're gonna postpone it then and there, and then everything will be fine. Because right now, nobody knows.
Who knows? Like, there's no solution. And you know, so I think I was just like generally really down. Then, you know, like I'm always like that. I try to pick myself up and, you know, try to just do things and keep busy and whatever. But quite frankly, you know, like I tried to really push on social media and whatever, but at the end of the day, like behind the screen, like I was a wreck. And that's, I think,
Yeah.
the other thing that I found really interesting. On the one hand, I've been very grateful for social media because it does give me, you know, every now and again you giggle about something somebody posts. Or you
Yes.
get inspired. But on the other hand, it's also portraying this thing of everybody's fine and, you know, everybody's seeing silver linings and they're doing things they've never done before. And it's so awesome. And it's like, what are these people doing that I'm not doing? Like, what is wrong
Yes.
with me?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it
Yes.
just portrays the sense of, you know, almost like this mask of, you know, everybody's fine and or it's just completely horrendous. And you share these stories of people who are really suffering, and then you're like, oh, it's just my business that I need to worry about. At least, you know, I don't have kids that I can't buy food for. Or so it's like this complete like rift between, you know, feeling okay, not feeling okay, where are other people at. And it's just, you know, it just felt really overwhelming to me, and a blessing and like a curse at the same time. I don't know if you've experienced the same, but I've really like struggled with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we all, like, as we are all different, we also have different mechanisms to handle stress, you know, and to
Yes.
mourn, and to go into like a remote mode or something, you know.
Yes.
But also, I think the problem with, in particular, our industry, we are so much focused on the perfect picture that we get
Yes.
out.
Exactly.
The perfect cake, the perfect flower
Yes.
arrangement, the perfect dress, the perfect wedding, the perfect, I don't know what, you know, performance. And we never actually, never ever in the past have, or the most of us have never let people look behind the scene.
Absolutely.
Nobody's seen like what struggle it is to make this cake. Nobody has seen like a florist, their fingers that they are black and full of like thorns, and you know, and that they have feet they don't like
Can't walk
can't walk
anymore, or your
anymore.
back is hurting, or
Yeah,
whatever, you know. So
nobody's telling this.
No.
Anyone knows, but nobody's telling this. And so only
Absolutely.
the perfect pictures go out, you know. And a lot of us maybe have stress to be honest enough to say, no, my picture's not like that. I totally, and we had people that we asked actually, do you want to talk to us? And they said, no, I'm not in the position because I have no plan. I'm sad.
I can't
I
deal with this
can't
right
deal with
now,
this.
which
And
is
Yes.
also a way how
yes,
to deal with this, you know. I mean, I fully respect that, but
yeah,
I think it's also the picture that usually goes out is for our clients, and I
Absolutely.
think always do everything for our clients because this is our
Yes.
business. But
Yes.
now it affects us as individuals much
Absolutely.
more than, I mean, of course it affects our business, and in that way it affects us. But now here we sit,
We are
we
the
can't
business.
go out,
Well,
we can't. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And you are now all of a sudden the real face of your business because, um, you know, without you, the business is not going. And that's why, I mean, we try in our capacity what we can do to bring like really faces out of businesses, because I strongly believe Turquoise Squirrel is not Turquoise Squirrel, it's Elli Saayman, you know,
yes.
who had a vision, who had a dream, who has a
Yeah.
passion, and so many more that they are. I mean, yes, exclusive flowers. It's not yes, exclusive flowers. It's people behind a brand name and behind like a very polished picture that we like to. I mean, we like to post it because that's our job. You know, our job is to deliver perfect flowers or to deliver a certain quality or a certain thing. But now everything is crashed, and now we come back to our own human self, you know, and need to reflect as really, wow, who am I right now? Like, am I okay? Like, what? Like, there's a lot of things breaking also because in our daily busy life,
yeah,
we just, you know, we push this aside. We just
Oh,
don't think
absolutely.
about it,
Oh,
and now you have 24 hours not doing like anything, not going on events, not baking, not I
yes.
don't know what, and there you sit, and now you have really a
Yes.
face,
You have
and
time to actually really like introspect and see where you're at. And because I mean, I also, you know, I think it's this ginormous loss of, yes, you're constantly busy, and yes, it stresses you out, but it's also what makes you alive. Like, that's the stuff
Yes.
that keeps you going. It's like the next wedding cake, and the next wedding cake, and the next wedding cake, and that's what gives me my spark and my, you know, the will to keep going. And just, it's amazing. It's like a drug, you know. Like, I feel like I've almost been detoxing from being busy, and
Yeah.
I
think this is a good description to say, detoxing. I think
really is that. Like, I literally feel like I've been detoxing.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I mean, as dramatic this is, I think this detoxing, however, also makes us realize that the next cake or the next wedding is not the most important things in our lives as entrepreneurs, you know. It is also families and connections.
Exactly.
And
it's
you know, maybe
because
maybe
I know how you guys work as well. I mean, you know, that cake, I know the way you work, and I know that most of the people in the wedding industry work. It's we put all our personal lives on hold for our clients. Right?
Yes.
We'll be weekends, nights, day, anytime, right? And then now it's an opportunity to just go, oh crap, well, maybe self-care is important, and maybe I do need to look after myself a bit more. And, you know, maybe it's just a matter of taking a little bit more out, like time out of the busy day, or one weekend every 2 months that you just have peace and quiet and you don't book a wedding, you know, that filling your calendar. Like, I'm totally guilty of that. I just pack it in there.
the same.
Since 2 years, I tell Elfie, we at least one weekend a month, one weekend we want to have for us. We didn't actually manage that, but I promised her, like, after this, that one weekend we will have. And I think this is also something that will change our businesses, our lives, and also maybe for the better of us. And also, coming also back to this, you know, this picture that we send like out to clients, to the world, and who we are. I think a lot of us want to give a perfect impression. You know, we hire beautiful offices, or we have showrooms, and you know, like, just to get the most beautiful impression to our clients. And now that's actually the purity that we feel. Now we sit in our living room, some sit on the bed, some sit on the couch. We talk to each other
and still do business in a way, you know. Now
I mean, you have no idea what my spare room looks like, because I had to cram half of my bakery into a space that is literally like an eighth of the space that it should be. It is utter chaos. It looks like a bomb dropped in there. It is ridiculous.
But that also shows that, you know, the world is going on. No matter if you have a 5 million, like whatever, you know, to show, or if you have your living room and you are a startup. I think we're coming back to a lot of basic things, to appreciate things more, and not to, in a time where you can get, in brackets, famous just to be a influencer, you know, like, I think in a time where not real things get you famous, which I personally think is quite weird.
Strange.
If we go back to reality.
And I think my biggest takeaway from this pandemic, or the situation that we are in, is that you should allow yourself also to relax. You know, I mean, not months, and it's like at the stage it's also enough. But I think it's also like the reflection, as you said, you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, nobody is going to take care of your business.
No, exactly. You know, so I think it's really something where we can, if we push into this, like, I think something good can come out of it. And, you know, I thought about this a lot. And, you know, I mean, everybody in the wedding industry, or the events industry, we're all creative at the core, right? You know, yes, we
Yes.
need to be good at planning and organizing and stuff, and that's where the German part comes in handy. But the rest of it is really creative. And I think this time is asking us as business owners to be creative and not stuck in our own ways. And I'm
Yeah.
sure for other businesses that are not based on creativity, that might be a bit harder. So us as creatives, I think tap
We have a
into
benefit.
that, you know, like tap into that creativity that's there already in any case. And you need to now get creative with, well, what are other things that I can be doing or that I can push into, or, you know, something weird. I mean, I, you know, probably could be doing some other weird stuff. I don't know, like, I don't know, you know, maybe paint some more paintings, or, you know, like,
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Can I just
yeah,
ask you for one thing? Because I think, I mean, at core, you're a very positive person, and you're very energetic, and I love that because it really transports through the internet and through the
yay.
pictures always. But what is your vision, maybe also for your business? I think we personally spoke about this one time, not only doing cakes, maybe like locally, but maybe also bringing your art to different places. And like, did you give this a thought? Is this something that you have as a vision, maybe also to say, okay, fine, and when this is all over, I want to maybe also establish in a different way in other parts, maybe not only in the country, but also maybe
Mm.
like outside of the country?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty much like the 5-year plan. Although this COVID thing has totally ruined my ideas
Messed
of
it up.
plans. Like, it's
Yes.
ridiculous.
It's
But
5.6 months plan.
there comes COVID, and it's like, what? But for me, like, I've really pushed into the international thing with the teaching at the moment, and hopefully my plan is that that will open up doors for international deliveries. So like, I've actually, so next month in June, there's actually a tutorial that's going to be in one of like the world's leading like cake craft magazine. So that is happening. So I did that, and that's pretty cool. And then, you know, like trying to do online classes with it's called Cake Flicks, and so it's like stuff is happening with that, but it's more on the teaching side than it is on the actually making cake side. So I think that will only really come into play once those kind of things have gotten out there and have been established. So, but yeah, that's the plan. Eventually, I would love to be able to travel and, you know, deliver cakes to different places if they'd have me. I mean, that would be fantastic. I'd love that.
But because you say I'd love to travel, that reminds me to something that a lot of people might even don't know. Because you can also send cakes like
Yes.
to different destinations. Tell
Yes.
us a little bit like that. So I mean, we've got somehow a cake from you or stuff from you delivered by air. So
Yes.
it was just like I
With
couldn't
your
believe it.
help.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. But tell us like how people maybe like when flying and traveling is up again, how they can maybe order a cake from you like delivered by air.
Yes. So, I mean, it's just about a matter of budget. I mean, if you want an amazing cake that is sky high and will wow everybody and, you know, have everybody talking about it, then it might be worth, you know, flying somebody in, whether it's me or somebody else. It's always about liking the style that the person puts forward, right? So, you know, then that's definitely a possibility. I mean, I've done that twice now, and it's worked really well every time. It is flip. I mean, I'm a wreck after that. I'm not gonna lie.
I can imagine the stress.
It's tough. I mean, but it totally works. Like, I mean, there's just a couple of logistical things that you need to be aware of. Obviously, you need to make sure that your cake is cold, and you know, so you need to travel with dry ice, but then you can't have dry ice on the actual plane. So it's a whole bunch of logistical stuff. Like, is there a fridge there? So as soon as you get from the airport, can you go and drop the cake off into the fridge? So it's mainly logistical, and I think you just need to be able to trust your own cakes. So for me, I always do this little, I call it a bit of a trick, but it's not really a trick. So my cakes, you need a good, sturdy, yet tasty cake that it won't like collapse in on itself, right? So I then cover my cakes in ganache. and then only do I add the fondant. So that's the sugar coating over the top that looks beautifully white. But the ganache is hard even at room temperature. Most people make their cakes with buttercream, but buttercream is soft at room temperature, right? So then with traveling with cakes, I think it's not really possible if it's not covered in ganache. And what I always show my people when they start working with me, or my interns, or sometimes even clients, if they're like totally worried about their cake collapsing, because it happens a lot, it's ridiculous. I take my cake out of the fridge and I slap it with an like an outstretched arm, literally. Like,
Wow.
not terribly hard, but like you can slap it proper.
Yeah.
It would hurt if it was a face.
Okay, no, that's amazing.
That's really like the prerequisites for being able to travel with a cake. Like if the cake is sturdy and you've planned well and you know your cakes inside and out, there's, like, it's just a matter of budget.
Cool.
Okay, that's amazing, Elli. Thank you so much for spilling
It was
also
so lovely.
like, yes, all your wisdom, your pearls of wisdom.
And look, 1 hour is not like nothing.
Yes.
I mean, like, it's unbelievable.
Thanks so much. Thanks for
So
having me.
I just wish that a lot of people are interested in your online classes, and for
Yes, I
each and
think
every
that too.
couple also that is interested in still planning their wedding. I know that there's still a lot of people out there who are planning even at
Yes.
this time, because a lot of people do have time
Yes.
right now to sit and just like get their head around things. Maybe they do not have a definite date or things like that, but you are available, you
Yes.
will do cakes, you
From
are open.
21, I'm going to take orders in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Cool.
Well,
So
if this all simmers down, we would be. Our plan was to move at the end of September, but let's see.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's happening closer to you
Oh,
guys.
You are coming closer.
That's amazing. We're so looking forward to that.
We can have cake every weekend.
Yes.
Done. We'll be
That's
so
cool.
fat. We will be such big roly-poly fatties. Let's do it.
I think you don't have to worry about that, but
no. The only reason why I'm not like huge is because I have that smell of cake around me all day long, because then I don't feel like eating it. It's like when you cook your own meal, you don't like feel like eating it afterwards. It's that's the only saving grace. Otherwise I'd be huge.
Yeah, I think in Germany we have one of these saying, like the butcher doesn't like meat and the baker doesn't like cake.
Because you're surrounded by it, like,
exactly.
all day.
Absolutely.
Everyone should have a look at your Facebook page and see what you're doing. I adore your work.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. I know you're putting so much detail and love into your cakes. For me personally, I always say it's almost, I mean, I'm afraid to eat it because it's just destroying piece. But everyone who's looking for a special cake should check you out. And I mean, now that you're delivering almost anywhere.
You are not doing only cakes, also to say you make a beautiful little things like macaroons and petit fours and things like that as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Macarons and biscuits and hand-painted biscuits. I mean, what a cool thing for your guests as a gift.
Yes.
So, yes. But I can't wait to have a wedding again soon. I'm like, I really am dying to work together soon.
Please don't die. We want to see you again.
Okay,
yes,
I'm gonna try.
We are working on weddings as far as we can. And we wish you best of luck. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay creative, and
stay sane. I think that's
right
important.
now. Stay sane, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.